Well, this is the third in a three-part series. This is the making of the real-life tow mater, part 3. Well, around here it seems like every good project starts with a block of wood, and tow mater was no exception. We started routing the pieces that we needed out of wood, and we stuck them in our handy-dandy vacuum forming machine. It's got a 4-foot by 8-foot vacuum forming machine. Pulled the plastic down on it. We used 1/4-inch ABS for this process. Literally within minutes of putting the parts on there, we had finished parts that we cut out, lay down on the floor in the order that we needed them, cut them, trimmed them, put them together with aluminum strips in between on the seams, and riveted them. After we put the pieces together, we still put them together with a piece of aluminum behind the plastic, because the plastic can crack on a seam. So we put a strip of aluminum behind, riveted on each side of it, as many rivets as we could jam into them. And then after we're done, we put the sim glue on the seam, ground the plastic first, put the sim glue on, and then sanded it down, then used body filler over that. When we did Sally, that was all metal. We took an actual Porsche, cut it, put metal in there, cut the seams, brought it together and welded it up. There's no plastic used in that whatsoever, except the front bumper, which was made out of fiberglass. Then on Lightning, that was almost all plastic. We cut the piece out and put it together like a model car. Now Mater is a combination of plastic and metal. The cab is all plastic, the whole back section was metal. This is kind of a fun one because most of the cars you want to have the body just perfect, no ripples, no waves. On Mater we wanted ripples, we wanted waves, we wanted runs, we wanted everything you normally do not want to have. If it was bad, I'd go out and tell the guys, make it worse. Put a ripple in there, grind it rougher, don't sand it as smooth, things like that. So it was kind of almost a vacation build. We got it together pretty quick and tried to make it look as bad as we could. The roof, we put the lights on. Those were vacuum formed out of plastic. Everything on the truck worked. The lights would turn on and off. We even left a reflector off like Mater. And then we took the windshield, which was also vacuum formed out of acrylic plastic, fit it to the frame, and then a surprise came in. Edelbrock supplied us with all the parts we needed for the brand new big block Chevy engine. All the parts that came in from Edelbrock were chrome plated, which was a shame because we put them on the truck and then had to dull them down because Mater did not have a nice looking engine.
They asked if you got the tranny part.
Then Brian decided to have a barbecue out in the shop. Engine fired up, we got it timed, tuned, and ready to run.
Okay, now stop. Might be alright, might just have to warm up.
Mater was a fully functional Chevy truck with a very, very short wheelbase. Back end was narrowed 12 inches. The frame was shortened 5 feet. We drove it out, drove it into the booth as soon as we're ready to paint. Now, it's funny because we wanted a bad paint job, but we still put it in the spray booth and took all the precautions, and then we made it look bad after it was painted. So you start out making it look good, then you distress it and make it look bad. Kind of Hollywood special effects that we stick into here. The cables were made out of ropes that were painted to look like cable. Pulled the whole truck in the booth, minimal amount of masking because again we wanted overspray and all. Just happened to perfectly fit into the booth. Sides, again, it looks like it's not ready to paint, but it was. We had ripples and scratches and scrapes everywhere intentionally. We took out the windshields rather than mask them. Again, we didn't care about the overspray on the inside, even though we did mask the inside. We kept photographs handy, or drawings handy, so that we knew what parts to age, because even though it was supposed to look rough, it had to look perfectly rough, exactly like the cartoon image. We took the signs, blew them up to full size, the signs that were on the door, traced them, used a pounce wheel to punch through the tracing paper, and then that allowed us to tape the tracing paper to the side of the truck. We could see where it was to line it up, and then we took chalk, powdered chalk, and rubbed it through the holes in the tracing paper so that would transfer the design onto the truck. And even though you can't see it here, it said the tow Mater, clear enough to paint. Once again, this is not representative of the type of work we do, but the painting had to look bad. Used the worst brush I had, mixed the paint thin so it would have blotches through it because it was supposed to look like an old sign painted by an old guy, I guess. So it had to look pretty rough. So even when I made it look right, look better than it should, we had to sand it down and age it. We used an acrylic water-based paint to put the sign on with, and that way you could paint over it with any type of paint, any urethanes, and it wouldn't react, wouldn't lift. Then after the sign was put on, then we went and started adding the rust. The rust was a kind of a Rust-Oleum primer. Used a darker brown, kind of ochre color, and went in with an airbrush and touched up, added all the little rust spots. That's the fun part. Rust spots are easy. You just take an airbrush, you put a little spot, and then you run the paint, the spray gun down real rapidly. It makes it look like a run in the rust. Aging the truck out looks like it took a long time, but the whole aging process only took probably a couple hours. Painted the teeth white so they'd shine, put a clear over them, and made it was almost ready for debut. In the background you can see our boat project, which is the next one we're going to do, which is for Yamaha. Going and detailing little things that people normally don't see, the gums, the teeth, the tongue. Again, does not take that long. A lot of little streaks of rust add a lot to the truck. Gives depth to it, makes it look old. It hides a multitude of sins. And if you see in the background too, the diamond plate, we actually curved diamond plate and put diamond plate bed on there. The eyes were added on to the windshield. The windshield is done with a bus wrap that we put onto the plastic. The bus wrap is a lot of little tiny holes in a piece of white vinyl so that you could see through it from the inside, but you can't see in from the outside. And the eyes were held on by magnets. We epoxied magnets to the back of the eyes and put magnets on the inside of the windshield so you can move the eyes back and forth if you needed to. There's two maters, so you got two tow maters at once. We had one we did for PIXAR and then another one for the World of Wheels car show circuit that's going to travel. Now they weren't exactly identical because the tow mater we did for the car show had to be short enough to fit inside the trailer. The one for PIXAR did not. After we're all done, we took a little break, fed one of our employees peanuts, and got ready for the next project.
He doesn't have any nuts. I like the way he walks. Come on. He goes outside and we want to make a mess of the carpet. We yell at him about it. Whoa! Pretty good man. That's a pedestrian company.